Good morning, students. Today we are going to complete our third chapter, body fluids and their circulation. So let's discuss about the remaining topics. The next topic of this chapter is regulation of cardiac cycle. We have talked earlier also about the regulation of heart rate. So let's discuss again. Regulation cardiac cycle is regulated by two methods. There is nervous regulation and second one is chemical regulation. In nervous regulation, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, these are the parts of autonomic nervous system, they are going to play role. So the sympathetic nervous system it is responsible for increasing the heartbeat. So it accelerates heartbeat. How? It is going to constrict the arteries, and when constriction of arteries takes place, then flow of heart. We can say it is going to accelerate the flow of blood by constriction of arteries. And the second autonomic nervous system that is acting opposite to it is parasympathetic nervous system, and it is responsible for slowing down of blood flow. So these are working opposite to each other. Now the message for this high, or you can say slow blood pressure, is given by the receptors, and these receptors are known as baroreceptors. Baroreceptors are actually pressure receptors which are going to detect the pressure that is present in the arteries, and whenever the pressure is going to be very high or very low, they are giving the message to the central nervous system, and then central nervous system is sending again the message back to the autonomic nervous system, whether to the sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system. This is how they are functioning. So let's see with the help of a diagram how the message is moving to the central nervous system. I am showing the arc of aorta. Here our heart is present. Arc of aorta is arising, and from this arc of aorta, various arteries are going to arise. The right and left common carotid arteries, and these are going to bifurcate and leading to the formation of carotid sinus. This is how bifurcation is taking place, and this junction is carotid sinus. Here also carotid sinus are present. This is arc of aorta. Now the baroreceptors, they are present in this arc of aorta called aortic baroreceptors, and in the bifurcation here carotid bodies are present, and in these carotid bodies also the baroreceptors are present. Means from here the signal is going to enter into central nervous system. Suppose here brain is there, medulla oblongata is there. Then from here vagus nerves are arising, and these vagus nerves are responsible for giving message to the medulla oblongata, and message is because of change in the pressure in the arteries. From this carotid sinus, a small vein is arising, that is the Hering's vein. Hering's vein that is going to It is going to combine with, it is a herring nerve that is going to combine with another one, that is glossopharyngeal nerve, and these are also conveying message in this direction. So this is how the you can say nervous regulation of her cardiac cycle is taking place. Now the chemical regulation is controlled by hormones, epinephrine and non-epinephrine. These epinephrine and non-epinephrine, they are released from medulla of adrenal gland. The non-epinephrine is going to be released in normal situations, and it is going to control our heart rate in normal situations. It acts as a vasoconstrictor, means constriction of blood vessels takes place. The second hormone is epinephrine, which is also controlling the blood pressures, the blood supply, but it is behaving in emergency situations. Both are working similar, but if we see the effect of epinephrine is more on maintaining the blood pressure as compared to non-epinephrine. So this is how the hormonal control is there, which we are calling the chemical regulation. The another part of our this chapter is we have to learn about a organ that is a part of lymphatic system. This is the largest organ of the lymphatic system, and this is spleen. Where this spleen is present, if I want to show you, this is the esophagus. Over here stomach is present, diaphragm is going to be present. So this spleen is going to present, this is the fundus part of the stomach, it is going to present behind this. So some part of the spleen is touching this diaphragm and rest of the part is present behind the stomach. Over here the spleen is present. This spleen is the main lymphoid organ. Why? Because here lymphocytes are going to be formed. So let's understand this spleen with the help of diagram. The outer membrane, the outer layer of spleen is visceral peritoneum. And inside this visceral peritoneum a capsule is present, which is going to move interiorly. Finger-like extensions are moving internal twists, and these are known as tuberculae. So this is how the capsule is going to present. It is extending like this way. And these extensions are the tuberculae. This is how the capsule is present. This is the capsule. Now this spleen, it is supplied with splenic artery, and this splenic artery is going to provide oxygenated blood. So here splenic artery is going to enter, and this splenic artery is going to bifurcate into various arterioles. The function of the arterioles are, they are going to supply oxygenated blood to various parts of the spleen. Now these splenic arterioles are going to divide into capillaries. These capillaries are not further attached with the veins. Otherwise what we have seen, that arteries are going to divide into arterioles, then blood capillaries are combining to form venules, and then veins. This is the situation. They are ending up to here, Now they are not connected with the veins. So this splenic artery is going to supply oxygenated blood to the spleen. These arterioles that are present inside the spleen, they are covered with lymphoid tissues. Like this way, in blue I am showing the lymphoid tissues that are covering these splenic arterioles. So this is how the lymphoid tissues are covering them. And because of the presence of these lymphoid tissues, if we see a transverse section of any of the arteriole, they are going to appear white. Means how it is going to appear? In the center a arteriole is present, and this arteriole is surrounded by the lymphoid tissue, and this whole structure is appearing white in color. That's why we are calling it as white pulp. So in spleen we are going to see two different type of pulp, the white pulp and the red pulp. White pulp is containing the arteriole that is surrounded by the lymphoid tissue. So this is going to form the white pulp. This is the lymphoid tissue. Now all the space that is present over here is forming a venous sinus, and this venous sinus is containing RBCs. I am showing RBCs like this because here the arterioles have supplied the blood, so various RBCs are going to be present over in these spaces. Along with RBCs, this space is also containing various macrophages. So here macrophages are also going to be present. And these structures in which the macrophages are present, the RBCs are present, it is known as cord, splenic cord. It is known as splenic cord of Billerud. Now from here, various venules are moving out. Various small venules will be formed, and these venules are combining together to form the splenic vein, and this splenic vein is moving out of the spleen by carrying the deoxygenated blood from here. And the structure that is present in these venous sinus, that is appearing red because of the presence of RBCs. These are RBC and these are macrophages. So this open space is appearing red, that's why it is known as red pulp. So this is how the spleen is present. If we need to understand the complete circulation that is taking place inside the spleen, is the splenic artery is carrying oxygenated blood. This splenic artery is bifurcating into arterioles. It is providing oxygenated blood. Then it is entering into the venous sinusoids. From venous sinusoids, the deoxygenated blood is collected by venules, and these venules are going to combine and form splenic vein. This is how blood circulation is taking place inside the spleen. Now let's see the functions of spleen. What different functions spleen is performing? The first function is phagocytosis. Because different macrophages are present in the spleen, so these macrophages are going to phagocytosis. They are going to engulf the worn out RBCs, WBCs, and different microorganisms, waste, debris that is present in the blood. The second function of the spleen is that it is leading to the formation of blood cells. In fetus, the spleen is responsible for formation of RBCs, WBCs, means all the blood cells, but in an adult individual, it is only going to form the lymphocytes. The third function is it is producing lymphocytes, which are playing an important role in our immune system. because here two type of lymphocytes are present, B and T lymphocytes, and whenever any microorganism is going to come, the B cells are going to activate, and after activation of B cells, plasma cells are formed, and these plasma cells are responsible for the formation of antibodies, and antibodies are the main fighting agents which are going to kill the antigen that has entered in our body. So it is also playing an important role in our immune system. The fourth one is, this spleen is responsible for the storage of blood cells, or you can say storage of erythrocytes. Erythrocytes means RBCs. Whenever our body's oxygen requirement is not much, then spleen withdraw many of the RBCs from the blood and it store these RBCs. And whenever this RBC is required, then it is going to release the RBCs inside the blood. So we are calling it as blood bank. It is also used for the storage of erythrocytes. And in some of the situations, abnormal situations, because of any of the infection, the enlargement of spleen takes place, and that is known as splenomegaly. And in the last we are going to discuss about the disorders that are related with the heart. The first disorder is hypertension. Hypertension simply means increased blood pressure. If we talk about the normal blood pressure of an individual, that is 120/80. That is the maximum blood pressure, and the minimum blood pressure 120/80 mm of Hg. Now if this blood pressure is going to increase, say it is 140/90 mm of Hg, then the individual is suffering from hypertension, the increased blood pressure, and it is going to affect our brain, kidney, eye, different organs are affected. Most of the reason behind this hypertension is consumption of fat rich diet. If individual is not performing physical exercise and their diet is rich in fat, there is more cholesterol level in the blood, that is responsible for hypertension. Or because of smoking also, tobacco smoking also leads to hypertension. Some type of kidney infection can also lead to hypertension. The second one is atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis means that there is deposition of cholesterol, and triglycerides in arteries. And where in arteries? In the inner membrane. We learned about the inner membrane, that is tunica, interna, and the smooth muscles. So when an individual is taking fat rich diet, then the cholesterol and triglycerides are going to deposit in the inner membranes of the arteries, and this is leading to the formation of plaque. This is the lumen, and over here different substances are going to store, and this is deforming the lumen also of the arteries. And because of the formation of rough surface, the plaque is providing rough surface. The proliferation, the smooth muscles also going to proliferate, divide, because of the formation. The plaque is leading to the activation of platelets to release platelet derived growth factor, and because of this platelet derived growth factor, the smooth muscles start proliferation. Because another thing is that after proliferation of smooth muscle, this lumen is going to narrow down. All over here different structures, the plaques, smooth muscles are going to form, and the lumen is very narrow now. And because of this narrow lumen, the blood supply through this artery is going to reduce, and it can also lead to a situation like heart attack. So atherosclerosis is accumulation or combining of accumulation of cholesterol and triglycerides. Now to remove this atherosclerosis or plaque formation, there is a technique that is used, and that is angioplasty. This angioplasty is used to remove the plaque that is formed in the arteries. After the removal of the plaque, the lumen, the space will be increased and there will be normal blood flow. This atherosclerosis may lead to complete blockage of arteries also. The lumen is narrowing down, but if there is excess of deposition of cholesterol and triglyceride, this lumen will be completely blocked. Means the arteries are going to be completely blocked, and no blood is going to be supplied from these arteries. What is done in angioplasty is, in angioplasty a catheter is introduced inside the artery under the supervision of an X-ray machine, and this catheter, the tip of the catheter is containing a balloon like structure. A balloon is there, and when this is going to enter into the artery, air is inflated into this, the balloon is going to inflate, and because of the widen up of balloon, the plaque is going to move against the walls of the arteries. All the plaque is going to move along the walls. It will be removed from the center and it will lie against the walls. So this is how opening of arteries are taking place by the help of angioplasty. This is done in the process of atherosclerosis. The second one is arteriosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis means the walls. We know walls of arteries are elastic. The elasticity of the walls of arteries is lost. That means the arteries, the walls of the arteries are going to be stiff and rigid. And this is because of the combining of the precipitation of calcium ions with the cholesterol. So here calcium ions are taking very important role. So the cholesterol is going to precipitate with the calcium ions, and because of this the elasticity present in the walls of arteries is lost and it becomes thick, stiff and rigid. So when blood is going to enter into these arteries with pressure, their elasticity has already lost, so they are going to rupture, they are going to break, and because of their breakage the blood is going to come out, and blood is going to enter into the tissue spaces. Maybe blood clotting will take place, and this will affect the life of an individual. So this is arteriosclerosis. There is difference between atherosclerosis and arteriosclerosis. Now the next defect, the next disorder that is related to our heart is heart block. Heart block is related with the conducting system. There is any type of defect or abnormality in the conducting system of the heart. What is the conducting system? We have already discussed that the impulse of contraction will start from SA node. It will be received by AV node. Then it is going to bundle of His, and from here it is bifurcating, and Purkinje fibers are going to provide it to the ventricles. This is the conducting system. If in this conductive system any of the, say, SA node or AV node, bundle of His, any of become abnormal, or there is blockage of any of these 3-4 structures, then the conduction of the heart will not be proper, and that is leading to heart block. In situations like when SA node or AV node is blocked, at that time SA node is known as pacemaker. A artificial pacemaker is inserted into the individual for normal conduction because of the improper functioning or blockage of SA node or AV node. This artificial pacemaker is made up of three things. It is made up of a pace setter. This pace setter is basically acting as a battery. It is made up of lithium halide. The duration of its working is more, and this pace setter is inserted near to this collarbone skin. Under the skin near the collarbone, this pace setter is being implanted. Now the second structure is a lead, or we can say a cord, and this cord, it is connected with the pace setter, and another end of this cord is connected with any of the vein. And the third part is a electrode that will be inserted in the walls of the heart. So this is how the pacemaker, artificial pacemaker, is going to be set. This battery is going to again send the impulse of contraction, and this is leading to the normal conducting system of an individual. The next one is stroke. Stroke simply means that in brain there is interrupted blood supply to brain, and when there is not proper amount of oxygen, because blood is supplying continuously oxygen to the brain, when the brain cells are not going to get oxygen, then these conditions may lead to paralysis, and we say it is stroke. So here the brain cells are not getting enough amount of blood supply. The next one is rheumatic heart disease. The rheumatic heart disease is because of rheumatic fever or some of the infections specifically caused by Streptococcus bacteria. And because of rheumatic fever, the portion of the heart that is going to be affected is the valves. Can be the bicuspid or tricuspid valves that are going to be affected because of this rheumatic heart disorder that is caused by Streptococcus bacteria. The next situation is congenital disorders. Congenital word means by birth. So when embryo is growing, at the time of development of the heart, there can be some of the errors that are occurring during the developmental stages of heart. This can be because of any of the medicine, wrong drugs that can be taken by the toxic drugs that can be taken by the mother, or it can be because of smoking or some of the other teratogens that are going to enter into the fetus with the help of placenta. So these congenital disorders are present in an individual by the time of birth. The another situation is oedemia. It simply means puffiness. This is related to the lymphatic system. We know in our tissues lymph is present, and the lymph capillaries collect this lymph from the tissue spaces. But if the lymph capillaries fail to collect this lymph from the tissue spaces, there will be more and more accumulation of the lymph, and this is leading to a local swelling. Swelling of the region is taking place, and that is giving a puffiness appearance. This can be because of blockage of the blood lymph capillaries or because of the improper functioning of the lymphatic system. The another condition is Ebstein's disease. Ebstein's disease is also congenital, means it is present by the time of birth, and what happens over here is the tricuspid valve The tricuspid valve is present in between right auricle and right ventricle. This tricuspid valve shifts more towards the right ventricle. This is Epstein disease or Epstein disorder. The another condition is fibrillation. Fibrillation means the heartbeat, the continuous contraction of heart muscles has increased. There is increased contraction in heart muscle but it is a abnormal situation and it can be fatal. It can leads to death of an individual. So heart muscles are contracting at a very fast rate abnormally, and this is fibrillation. So the process to revert this process is known as defibrillation, and the machine that is used for this defibrillation is known as a defibrillator. The another defect that is related to our heart is tachycardia. Tachycardia simply means that the heart beats very fast. And opposite to it is bradycardia, that is heart beats slowly. There can be cardiac arrest, and this cardiac arrest means heart is not beating. Heart has stopped beating, and at this condition will be cardiac arrest. So these are some of the more disorders related to the heart. For few more are heart failure, heart failure means that the blood supply that is coming from the heart is very low. If the blood supply will be there less, then the body's oxygen demand will not be fulfilled. So that will be the condition, that is heart failure. The blood coming out from the heart is very low in amount, and that is not fulfilling the oxygen requirement of the body. That condition is known as heart failure. The another one is heart attack, or we can say myocardial infarction. What happens in this myocardial infarction? The death of the heart muscles. Some part of the heart muscles are going to die, and this is because of the improper supply or almost no supply of oxygen to the heart. When heart muscles are not getting enough oxygen, some of the heart muscles are going to die, and that is heart attack. The another is coronary thrombosis. Coronary thrombosis means the coronary artery that is going to supply oxygenated blood to the heart muscles. This coronary artery is blocked by the formation of clot formation. Blood clot formation is going to take place in the coronary artery, and because of these the heart muscles are again not getting oxygen. Some more defects related to this is angina, also known as angina pectoris, that is simply chest pain. And the chest pain or pain on the left side of the arm, that is occurring again because of the improper supply of oxygen to the heart muscles. And one more defect that is related to this is ischemia. This is also because of the abnormal or improper blood supply to the heart muscles because of blockage of the arteries. Because of this blockage, proper amount of oxygen is not provided to the heart. So these are some of the disorders that are related to our circulatory system or the parts of the heart. To treat these disorders, various devices are used. For example, some of the devices we have talked here. Pacemaker we talked about one technique, that is angioplasty. Then defibrillation is done to treat fibrillation. Just like that, some of other techniques are, there is a bypass surgery, coronary artery bypass, grafting. This coronary artery bypass grafting is done when the arteries are incompletely blocked or completely blocked. When portion of artery is blocked, that means blood is going to, here there is a blockage. Now this artery is not going to transfer the blood because of this blockage. So a artery is taken from the individual, and this portion where there is blockage, that is bypassed by attaching this artery all together from a new path. So that is a coronary artery bypass surgery that is done during the cases where the arteries are blocked. When arteries are blocked, there are some spring-like structures which are made up of stainless steel. They are also inserted in the arteries and they are known as stents. Now these spring-like structures, they are holding the walls of the arteries, so they are going to keep the lumen wide, and because of this the proper blood supply is going to take place through these structures. So this is how some of the devices are used to treat various of the heart related disorders. And now we have completed our this third chapter.